The Reds get the job done, 25 points to 13. Pretty bloody good game, man. Pretty entertaining. It was absolutely like frantic, hectic, end to end. Just a good game. Like Super Rugby AU, some guy said it in the live stream we did during the game. It's just been getting better. And this game is a fine example of it. I mean, 25-13 is not exactly like, 45-36 or something, but it was still just like absolute madness, and the stats will kind of back that up. I'll go through some of the key events of the game and some of the key stats, and you guys can let me know your thoughts. Firstly, I guess kudos to all the people who got out to the game. Seems there was like 15,000 people out at that game, which is a really good crowd, especially considering pandemic and the fact that, people say Super Rugby over in Oz has been kind of on its knees and whatnot, but yeah, man, really good crowd. Really good to see all the fans get out there for that one. Hopefully, there's a decent crowd at the final next week with the Brumbies taking on the Reds. Certainly, two kind of powerhouse teams, and the Reds are in such good form. Although the injuries may be a little bit worrying, and I'll get to those in a minute as well, because there were certainly quite a few guys who left the pitch earlier than expected in this one. To be fair, the Rebels started off the better team. And kudos to the Rebels guys for, like, as they just said in the wrap-up just now, like, these guys have not played home games. They've been on the road for weeks and weeks and weeks, away from their families, unable to get some players out of Victoria to kind of join the squad. So they did pretty bloody well to just scrape through and make it into the AU final series, qualifying final. And for large periods of this game, they were in touch. It was only kind of right towards the end that they took it beyond like a single scoring play. And they started this game with a real hiss and roar. They had all the ball for at least the first almost like 10 minutes. But it was just before 10 minutes. It was on about 8 minutes that Petaya got the first try, and it was an intercept. It was one of the first runs the Reds actually had. I should mention, like, about a minute before this try, Callaway looks to have maybe scored from a cross kick, but he's just got a foot in touch. So the Rebels get denied a try. So it's almost like a 14-pointer because they get denied at one end and then they concede 7 down the other. So a pretty brutal one. Petaya intercept. Tamua's pass goes to Petaya. Korobidi tries really hard to chase him down, but Petaya is just cruising, and he goes over for a try. So it's all the Reds on the scoreboard, but it's all been the Rebels with the ball in hand. Like, the Rebels, they were looking dominant with all their possession, but just not really able to create like genuine chances. They did win the first scrum penalty, and they kicked it to make it 7 points to 3. 19. Petaya went close. There was a kick through. Jock Campbell was the man who received it. He offloaded to Petaya. Hodge kind of tackles Petaya right as he's maybe got a hand on the ball. Maybe it's hitting his feet. Either way, it's a half chance for the Reds that doesn't get converted. However, the Reds do kick a penalty on 24 minutes to make it 10-3. They missed another one on 27. They did miss a couple of kicks in this one. The Reds, like James O'Connor, his boot was pretty good. One of them like in off, but he did still miss a couple. Fortunately for the Reds, and I mentioned injuries, Petaya went off on around like 30 minutes, 32, and he was looking dangerous, which is quite a pity. 34 minutes, McDermott, who's generally such a good player, he throws the ball to O'Connor, and it's like 4 bounces on its way to O'Connor in his own goal. And O'Connor tries to kick, but it's charged down. Naisarani, he's just waiting for the ball to hold up in the in-goal area because he's charged it down. He's kind of waiting for that bounce. It just doesn't happen. The ball just keeps traveling, and it goes dead. So that was a pretty unfortunate one for the Rebels. However, they did score just before halftime. Korobidi with some quick ball from a ruck, and it's 10 apiece at halftime. And when you look at the stats, it kind of backs it up. Possessions 50-50. The Rebels have got the territory 55%, but it's not that much. Run meters is 280 to the Reds, 303 to the Rebels. And that's more than some entire games have over the 80 minutes. So the fact that this game had that in 40 kind of gives you an indication of how like pacey this game was. And there was only 7 penalties in that first half. Since the lockdowns, been lifted in many places that have resumed rugby, penalty counts have been through the roof. So 7 penalties counts as very, very low. But speaking of very low, the Reds' tackling percentage was 76%, which is pretty poor. The Rebels were at 88, and the number of tackles they made was pretty similar, both in the 50s. But the Reds' percentage was pretty poor compared to the Rebels. Second half, the injury theme continues. Dane Halapeti goes off. He had the ball, he was running it, and he just looked like he got shot in the leg. He just basically had to fall down on the ground and just play the ball. He said it in the post-match that it was his groin. So it's unfortunate for him because it's like a second game back. He's getting on. Your body doesn't hold up maybe as it should. But, just unfortunate for the guy. And then a few minutes later, to add a bit of salt into that wound, Salakai Aloto gets a try. There's some great hands in the build-up. Paisami with the pass that kind of set it all up. And a great conversion from O'Connor. Makes it 17-10. So they got that 7-point buffer. At worst, they're looking at getting into drawing distance. 15 minutes, McDermott gets a line break. He puts a sick dummy onto Reece Hodge. Makes him look absolutely silly. But his kick through for, I think it was for Lamani? No, not Lamani. Lamani's on the Rebels team. One of the other Reds players whose name just totally won't come to my mind. Someone tell me in the comments. It's too big. It's way too big. And it goes dead. So it's another missed kind of opportunity for the Reds. Tamua goes off on 53 minutes, so the injury toll is mounting. And Feawaisotia got injured. Ulisi got injured. Peti Pataya, Feawaisotia, Tamua. Yeah, man. The injury list in this one is extensive. 54 minutes, though. Hodge kicks a penalty to make it 17-13, so kind of within a single try. But then 57 minutes, the Reds get a scrum penalty. That penalty goes in off. And the Rebels guys, I think that one was Lamani, tried to play on, even though the flags had been raised, to maybe make them think that they'd actually missed it, but it wasn't working. The officials knew what they were doing. So it's 2013, back to that 7-point buffer. 67, Korobidi goes in for seemingly a try, but there's a forward pass, that final pass, for him to go over the try line is forward, so it's a missed opportunity for the Rebels. There's some handbags on 64 minutes. Was it Campbell Magnay and Smith, the prop? It was kind of madness. I guess it's a final. And then 74 minutes or 75, Dalgunu gets a try on the left wing. Hegarty put the inside ball to Tupou, had a nice little line break, and his pass to Dalgunu allows him to go over on the left wing. Conversion gets missed, but it's 25-13. 5 minutes to go. The Rebels are not coming back from there. So, yeah, that's the game. I mean, barring the injuries, the game itself was pretty mad. Run meters 525 to 526, within a meter of each other, both sides getting some real open field. Possession was 51-49 to the Rebels. Territory 54-46, so all quite even. Clean breaks, the Reds had it 11-6. Defenders beaten, the Rebels had it 26-19. But the Reds' defense in that second half actually picked it up a notch. They finished the game with 81% tackling percentage. Remember, that was up from 76. Whereas the Rebels went down to 83 from 88. Penalties conceded was 6-9, so the Rebels conceding a few more. They were conceding a few scrum penalties in that second half, especially after starting off pretty well in that area. And that was just a nice little win for the Reds there. Individuals, Dalgunu had a try assist, 114 run meters, 5 defenders beaten. I think at least a couple of turnovers at the breakdown. He did everything. Should be man of the match if they awarded one. Korobidi for the Rebels had a try, 101 run meters, 7 defenders beaten. He was no slouch either, but on a losing side. Sorovi is the guy I was thinking of. His name has finally just come to mind. I've been half thinking about that the whole time when talking about all this other stuff. Good to know I can remember his name. But yeah, great game. we'll see how these teams go. Well, this team, the Reds, goes against the Brumbies next week. Good on the Rebels for getting this far, giving us a real entertaining qualifying final. Despite all the odds against them in this one, them and the Force really did it tough in terms of having to be on the road, away from their families and whatnot. But the Reds seem to be the form team. They've beaten the Brumbies already. Should be one heck of a final. I really look forward to it. Yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts on the game, other stuff that I missed, other players' names that I've probably messed up, got around the wrong way. It's late. I'm going to bed. You guys take care, and I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.